So there's this theory that life is a game and all the challenges you've had to face are simply there to help you grow. Or a similar theory is that we're living in a movie and we're just these characters going on an adventure. Hi, I'm Carla Rieger, and this is the Golden Age Timeline podcast. Now, you may buy into that theory or not, but consider this. When I first heard that theory, I totally rejected it. I mean, life is just random, right? There's no deeper purpose or intelligent design behind it all. How could there be? No one I grew up with seemed to believe that. Yet that theory just kept crossing my path. So at one particularly challenging time in my life, I decided to pretend for a week that I believed it, just to see what would happen. It changed my life completely. So I kept going with it. And after a while, I came to ponder this idea too. What if the game was uniquely designed for me to win? Sure, it would be challenging, but if I rose to the occasion, life believed I could do it, and that behind it all was a benevolent force that you could call life, the universe, God, the creator, Winifred, whatever name works for you. But this force, this source of all life, truly wanted me to win this game that I was playing. That idea alone helped me rise out of pits of despair like nothing else. So in this episode, I'd like to share some tried and true, very practical ways to help you move from confusion or frustration to insight and ease, any particular challenge going on in your life, and to co-create with life what you want. Whether that challenge is triggered by world events or personal situations, or both, this can work. Anything causing inner conflict, heartache, turmoil, agitation, stress, confusion, overwhelm. Let's see if any of this works for you as it has for many coaching clients. If so, feel free to use and share as needed. So even though over the last few years it's been very stressful, overwhelming, and uncomfortable for many people, it also helps to pay attention to the ways you and others have benefited, learned, grown as a person. Yes, you may have done that in your own mind, decided to look at the silver lining, the good side, the optimistic glasses half full, and that's a sign of a highly resilient person, according to all the research I've done over 20 years. Now, it wasn't that highly resilient people only saw the glasses half full, but that they could change perspective at will. I'm sure you know people who are almost always pessimistic, and maybe others who are almost always optimistic. The trick is to not get stuck in any one perspective, but to switch, to free your mind to look at any situation from multiple perspectives if you want to find the best possible solutions. So that's the underlying goal here, and sometimes you have almost to break the spell to switch yourself out of patterns of thinking that don't serve. A good way to discover the learning about a situation is to reverse engineer it and think about it from the perspective of, say, a game maker or the writer of a movie. Now, I've created novels, screenplays, and games, and so that's why I think in this way sometimes, and maybe you can relate. If you want to take a viewer, listener, participant on an adventure of discovery, what would you need to do to lead them on that path? Now, if you think of most movies people love, there is a hero who must overcome obstacles, challenges, both inside and out, and must change inside to meet the challenge. He or she must decide to do the right thing instead of the easy thing. And when I teach storytelling to entrepreneurs and leaders, I teach them to create challenges for their hero. Or if the story is about them as the hero of their story, they need to pick a time when they faced and overcame a big challenge. Those make the best stories. So they look for times of conflict, trouble, accidents, mishaps, making a huge decision, discovering something they never knew about, that kind of thing. When I say conflict, I don't mean just arguing between two people, but rather two forces opposing each other, like a hero and a villain. The villain could be a person or a system or the weather or the economy or a group of people. It could be inner conflict or outer. Here's an example of a story without conflict. Joanne Smith gets up, feels great, makes breakfast, goes to work, and comes home. Same as always. End of story. It doesn't hold our interest, right? If Joanna gets up and on her way to work falls into a well and can't get out, well, now we have a story. Why? Because there's trouble, obstacles, she must discover a way out. There's an inner and outer dilemma to solve. For example, Into Thin Air is a movie based on the true story of people climbing Mount Everest. It had 3 types of conflict, which helped make it so popular. The hero is in conflict with the other climbers trying to reach the summit. He is in conflict with the dangerous weather on the mountain, and he has inner conflict about what to do with the tragic and dangerous situations he faces. And so think like the creator of this experience we're having. So there's been lots of strange and conflicting information on the media, in the alternative media, social media, amongst groups of people you may know. Some people see things one way and staunchly defend it. Others see it another way and they fight with each other. Of course, this isn't new, but it seems heightened in the past few years, right? Why? So why is life, or the grand game master of the galaxy, creating this for us to experience? Of course, this presupposes the idea that at some higher level of awareness, maybe at the soul level, we signed up for the game, bought a ticket for the movie, wanted to go on the adventure, have this experience, but just forgot. So, what is life trying to teach us? What is life trying to activate? Why would all this be important? So, one possible purpose might be to learn about wise discernment and personal power. At least that's my theory. You may have your own. Now, by wise discernment, I mean the ability to navigate through a maze of falsities, half-truths, full truths, outright lies, misdirection, by relying on inner knowing, inner truth, rather than on external cues. It's like trying to find your way out of a house of mirrors. And by personal power, I mean the ability to do what's right and not succumbing to what's easy or convenient or what others would approve of. Not just going along with the crowd, but instead being a light unto yourself. For example, think of a time when you had a gut instinct to do or not do something despite logical information and it worked out in your favor. The time you said, I knew in my heart it was the right thing to do. For example, I had a friend who was vacationing in Phuket in December of 2004. Every morning of his vacation, he liked to stroll along the beach, which meant on the morning of the tsunami, he would have been hit by the wave. But he had a strong instinct to stay put in his 4th floor suite and convince his wife to do the same. Despite her protests, it probably saved both their lives. So going back to what the creator of this experience is trying to activate in us, I've noticed many people over the last few years become more focused on self-care than they did before. Finally eating more healthy, exercising more, learning about how to increase their immune system. Others are connecting more authentically with family and friends, or leaving behind old relationships that didn't serve and making new, like-minded friends. Some learned how to bring their offerings online so that people all over the world can benefit instead of just those who lived in close proximity. Some are taking much needed downtime to rest, slowing down, reflecting, and doing inner work. Some decided to reinvent themselves, their life, their career, educating themselves, taking a new direction, and reevaluating their choices, getting clearer on the values they really want to live by. Some got focused again on a back-burnered project like writing a book or organizing their home or creating a garden. while others notice that they are okay, in fact, better off by eliminating activities that used to cost a lot of time and money. So if that's what people have learned so far, that's pretty good. What more is there to learn? That's a great question to ask yourself daily. What am I meant to be learning here? What is it activating in me that I wouldn't otherwise do unless I had this challenge? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? I'm sure you can look back on a challenging experience you went through over the last few years and find at least one good thing that came out of it, and from several other times in your life too. So think about that moving forward. What's the gift in all this? As soon as you recognize it, often life changes the situation. It reminds me of those Black Mirror episodes. Black Mirror is a kind of modern day version of the Twilight Zone series. It's a sci-fi anthology series on Netflix exploring high-tech, near-future scenarios where humanity's greatest innovations and darkest instincts collide. That's how it's explained. And it feels like we're living in one of these episodes right now. So, if life were a game and the game creators wanted you to learn lessons about wise discernment and personal power, what would be the best way to do that? Well, maybe you'd give people a lot of conflicting and half-truth information about a high-stakes issue so that you have to look inside your own heart, use your own gut instinct to decide about what's true and what's false. And if you get clarity on what's true and act on it, you pass the test. And how about increasing your personal power? Well, you'd maybe have the governments of the world start telling people all these things you're not allowed to do because of public safety. And at first it makes sense, so you do it, but it goes on for a long time. And the airwaves are filled with ongoing doomsday predictions that don't totally make sense. And many people start to lose their livelihood, and their mental and their physical health suffers as a result of the lockdown, and relationships suffer, and basic human needs for connection are not being met. And your hope is that people will start wondering if all that is more of a danger to society than the original reason for doing it. This would make for like this interesting reality show or Black Mirror episode or social experiment where you see how people react. How long will billions acquiesce to being on house arrest? What kind of information would you need to feed them? Who is going to use wise discernment and who is not? And if not enough people practice wise discernment and just roll over, you'd need to step it up. Maybe you take away a few more freedoms and give a vague, unverifiable reason why. And still they don't learn the lesson, and so you give them something else, and you keep going like that until enough people pass the test. But all the while, you'd want to be giving them clues like TV shows or movies or popular songs or investigative journalism shows or evidence they could easily find online. And you'd maybe set it up like a treasure hunt or an Easter egg hunt. And one by one, you help them find the clues and you help them piece it together so they can pass the exam. But at the same time, you wouldn't want to make it too easy. So you try to throw them off the scent. Maybe you try to fill the airwaves with mostly the bad information with a bit of good information thrown in. But eventually, and hopefully, people start passing the test. They get to graduate to the next level of the game, which might mean getting to a higher level of functioning, higher evolution physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or all of that, so that it's an initiation into a higher version of ourselves individually and as a collective. And even though life is not going to make the journey easy, it does still want you to win. Because if everyone fails, then why bother playing the game in the first place? Humans were designed to take care of themselves, to choose love over fear, to have authentic relationships, to think innovatively, have wise discernment and personal power, as long as that power is also in harmony with the collective. So the tests and challenges activate these latent skills, if we let them. That said, many people in this world never take the time to develop mastery over their own minds in this way. But I will say, just by the fact that you're listening to this podcast, you are one of those people who want to master your mindset to pass the tests life brings you and to get greater control of your thoughts and emotions. And as a leader in this world, an expert in your field, the more you do it, the more you help others do it too. Because what kind of future becomes possible when you have evolved in this way? Like, imagine the results you could have personally over the next year and the impact your offerings could have in the world by having these heightened abilities that deep challenges tend to bring out in us. And what kind of future does that create for humanity, where we're all dialed up in this way? Think of the impact on people's mental strength, health, and well-being, and that confident certainty of knowing they can trust their wise discernment, that they can live from love and self-care, moving towards the next level of their vision and evolution with a sense of centeredness and peace of mind. When you have that as a guiding philosophy, you can see challenges as a gift and not something to fear. And once you break free of fear, it's your ticket to freedom, security, power, and connection like never before. So along with this game metaphor is the whole aspect of goal manifestation. Most of us are born having desires and aversions, things you want to avoid. And those drives cause us to set goals and go after them, whether the goal is to get what you want or to avoid what you don't want. And sometimes you get your goal and sometimes you don't. And from this game metaphor, however, the journey is always more important than the end goal because it's who you become on the journey. It's the lessons you learn or don't learn. That, however, is so easy to forget when you continually miss the mark. But if you're a real seeker, truly in your heart wanting to grow personally, you'll set big goals and lots of them. And life wants you to do that because, of course, this increases the odds that you will learn more. But it also increases the odds that you will fail more often because if you set no goals or set really easy goals, you'll either stagnate or move at a very slow pace. You won't be able to pass the finish line anytime soon. And as I said, I think life wants you to grow and wants you to win the game of life. So if you find yourself disillusioned or disappointed because you missed the mark, you didn't get your goal, just become curious, like a detective. So here's a few places to look when it comes to discovering why you failed to achieve a goal. So let's use a specific example, like launching an online course. You launched it and hardly anyone signed up, or not enough to make it worth it. Number 1, incorrect date. Maybe you got the wrong time. Maybe you got the date wrong. The timing wasn't quite right. So what? It's simply life giving you the feedback that you need to dig deeper and work on your inner game a bit more. Just have the courage to move on and set a new date for attaining the goal. Ask life for the wisdom to do better so you can manifest it. Knowing, again, it's the journey of getting there that's important rather than the end goal. That's what happened with one of my online courses. I tried launching it during the summer when everyone was away on holiday. So I just asked myself, what's a better date? I got the insight to move it to the fall and then had something practical to take action on. In the past, I would have gotten stuck for a long time in a feeling of defeat. Number 2, wrong goal. Maybe in the process of going after your goal, you realized it was off purpose for you. Sometimes you don't know until you try. Then you simply course correct and reset your sails for a new horizon. Once I asked myself, is there a better goal? I got the insight to niche it down to a specific type of group. Then I just needed to upgrade the messaging for that particular group of people. Number 3, you're too attached. Maybe you're too attached to the outcome. If you want something very badly, you'll actually block it from coming about. It's an interesting paradox. The trick is to clearly state your goal with specificity, focus on it, turn around the doubts and fears, but then let it go. Deciding to be happy whether or not it comes into your life. And that was true in my case. I got very attached to a certain amount of people signing up in a certain amount of time. So I asked myself, how can I let go of attachment here? And I got the insight to lower the expected number of signups, gave myself a lot longer to do the launch, and extended the time people had to register, which all ended up being a really good thing, which leads us to number 4, you're not prepared to receive it. Napoleon Hill once said, there is a difference between wishing for something and being prepared to receive it. Maybe you're not prepared to receive your goal yet. Perhaps you're not psychologically ready to handle the success, or you know in your heart you really have to up your game to feel right about achieving this goal. And life will help you do that if you ask. In my case, I asked what would help me better receive this goal. And I got the insight that I was already stretched thin on a number of other projects. And if I'd had a huge number of people sign up, I actually didn't have the time, infrastructure, or customer service people in place to really take care of them. Once I got clear on that, put all that in place, I had the peace of mind to really receive the success. Life has a sense of timing that we can't often know with our conscious mind. For example, just before the whole pandemic, we were going to host a big live event, and all kinds of things got in the way of getting that underway. Now, in retrospect, we're glad we didn't put a lot of time and money into hosting a big live event that would have needed to be canceled because of the pandemic. If things aren't flowing, maybe life knows something you don't know. All that said, it's important to put a date on your goals because without one, it's just an aim. A deadline gives your conscious mind a focus and tends to increase your enthusiasm. You're inspired to take more action and work harder if the clock is ticking. But a date is still only a best guess, so don't give up if your timing is wrong. But when things don't work out exactly as we want, the human tendency is for the self-doubt to creep back in. When that happens, just go back to this inner work, ask the right questions, course correct, and keep seeing the goal come to fruition. This is so important because what most people do is they let the self-doubt win and completely give up on their goals instead of doing the course correcting, doing the inner work. In our research, the biggest difference between people who achieve success in life and those who don't is that successful people kept course correcting. That was the main difference. It wasn't talent or connections or luck. It was the willingness to keep being curious and course correcting. Now, most people seem to have a subconscious or even conscious expectation that the path of life from A, our vision, to B, vision becomes reality, should be a straight line. In reality, if you think about it, it rarely is. Life is more often than not this zigzaggy journey that goes all over the place and backwards sometimes. So one of the best beliefs to cultivate is that life is always working for you if you allow it. That said, the survival brain part of you is programmed to crave security, proof that you can be successful before you get there, and instant results. But part of the game of life is to retrain your survival brain to let go of external security in place of internal security, to let go of the need for proof and instant results, and grow into emotional maturity where you understand and accept how the game works and you work with it instead of against it. As Joel A. Barker once said, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision is just passing the time, but vision with action can change the world. Most people live life either visioning and not taking action or being busy for busy's sake without getting anywhere. And I believe that's so because they've consciously or unconsciously committed to a path of mediocrity. They've decided, I'll just do enough to survive, to not be fired, to make just barely enough to live on, to play small so I don't rock the boat, to not challenge the status quo, to not break out of my comfort zone, to make sure people approve of everything I do. And unfortunately, those kinds of mind stories keep people enslaved because no one at the core of their true self wants to be enslaved in that way, and nor should they be. I believe you're meant to be the best version of yourself to achieve mastery, and that's the whole game of life. And that the path there is like that hero's journey. It's fraught with discomfort. So the survival brain part of us will want to continually give up. So just expect that to happen. and that you kind of play with it and you work with it and you retrain it. But if you buy into the game theory, or at least are open to it, then you didn't come here to fail. You came here to win. So if you commit to the path of game mastery, then that becomes your guiding light instead of external circumstances that were designed in the first place to help you become better at playing the game. And when you make that kind of commitment, life conspires to support you, especially when things get tough. Most people are letting their survival brain run the show, however, and that makes life unnecessarily challenging. Life often has a better plan for you than the one you have for yourself. I believe it's one that's often beyond your wildest dreams. And maybe you've noticed that life can bring things to you in mysterious and unexpected ways if you let it. But you only get it when you're ready and at the right time. But staying connected to life, to this higher mind, your higher self, or God, or whatever word has meaning for you, helps dramatically. The problem is people forget to listen, or they let the connection get interrupted, or they misinterpret the message. And if that ever happens to you, welcome to the human condition. The trick is to apprentice yourself to creating a strong, a clear, true connection. It's like any relationship in life, it requires your time and attention. If you want a good marriage or a good friendship, you need to give and receive that love, support, caring, listening. It's the same with this higher power connection to life. If you ignore it, it will ignore you. And just so you know, worry, stress, and negativity do block your connection to this higher power. The other thing that blocks it is a conscious or subconscious belief that there is no higher power, that life is meaningless, or even worse, that life is against you. And truth be told, many people actually believe that. Again, sometimes it's unconscious, but we've all experienced hardships in life, these game obstacles designed to help you grow, but you may have felt like a victim to that challenge when it happened, like when you lost a whole bunch of money or lost an important relationship or you got fired or you failed miserably at something or you dealt with death or illness. The survival brain is programmed to feel like a victim in those situations, a victim of others' behaviors, a victim of circumstances, in short, a victim of life. It's like a friend who ends up betraying you. So you say, that's it, I'm no longer going to be friends with life. I've certainly gone down that road before. It was only when I decided to reframe the experience as a learning journey and to forgive life for giving me that experience and forgive myself for any way that I handled it that wasn't the best. That's when the learning actually integrated and became wisdom. And then the challenge magically dissolved away. I've seen that happen so many times now that as soon as a big challenge comes into my life, immediately I look at what I'm meant to learn and put all my focus there instead of feeling like a victim to it. Of course, that also means going back to past experiences where you still feel like a victim and going through that forgiveness process, learning the lesson, which then allows you to grow and move on. And often that means you also don't have to repeat it. If you keep dealing with the same challenges over and over again, the same kind of relationship, the same kind of losses, big clue, you haven't learned the lesson. Commit to learning the lesson, even if you don't know what that is yet, and you open your mind to it. You may never have to deal with that challenge again. That's why reinterpreting the meaning you've given to past experiences can be one of the most important life habits you ever cultivate. Because the truth is, often the hardest experiences in life gave you the biggest gifts if you really think about it and you really let the learning happen. In fact, in all my studies of resiliency in organizations, the people who had the biggest challenges in life had the most resilience. The people with few challenges in life crumpled at the sign of any challenge. Now, I did encounter people who had lots of challenges who didn't grow and just stayed bitter. The truly resilient people chose to rebuild trust with life and let life help them because they believed that life ultimately wanted them to win. And one thing we also noticed with resilient people who more often successfully achieved their goals was that they let themselves feel the positive feelings of achievement now before actually achieving the goal. Have you ever booked a vacation and then enjoyed the anticipation of the vacation more than the actual vacation? Same phenomenon. As soon as you set the possibility and you start believing in the possibility, you don't even have to wait until you achieve it to enjoy it. Interesting, right? Enjoying all your goals as a work in progress is the key. The paradox is to set outrageous goals and be happy at the same time with what you have now. Staying in a perpetual state of frustration because you haven't reached your goal defeats the purpose of life. Choose to love the process. The true purpose of any goal is the journey of growing into the person who is worthy of the goal. And that's why you can't hate your way to success. You can't stress your way to freedom. If you do, you'll either block your success or reach the top and hate the view. One tip I often share with my coaching clients is to continually ask yourself, how can I better enjoy the journey towards my goals and dreams? In some senses, that's the only question that really matters, because as soon as you set a goal, if you feel yourself tightening up, you've defeated the purpose of doing it in the first place. For example, I've had many clients come to me saying they threw their lives away to create their business. They did it at the expense of their health, at the expense of their family and friends. That's a trap I help many people resolve, and sometimes it's hard to resolve that on your own. As soon as you stop loving it, you have inner work to do to realign yourself with the vision. Some people live from this underlying fear that the world is out to get them, and you can tell by how they act. There's this constant tension, vigilant, furtive energy to their interactions, always on the lookout for what's trying to get them. I've certainly lived my life like that in the past. Of course, it's important to stay present to imminent dangers, but staying like that most of the time makes it very hard to wake up, grow, and learn. You're too often in the primitive brain and not connected to the higher mind. What can help a person break free from that constant anxiety is this notion that we're just in a game and that life wants you to win that game, and there's lots of help if you ask for it. And not only that, but life needs you to be part of it. It loves you, cares for you, and anything that seems harsh in the big picture may have a benevolent, loving purpose. If you look for that, you often find it. I know that can be hard to see in certain situations, but meditating on it a while can unveil previously before hidden gifts. Of course, most stories have a villain and a hero, the black hats and the white hats. The black hats challenge you to grow, and the white hats come along as allies when you need them. Both are necessary for the ultimate game of growth. But if you only look at it with black and white thinking, you can get stuck on the path. Now, sometimes when I offer this perspective, people say something like, well, that's heartless. You don't understand the pain and suffering I've felt and others have felt. It's very real. It's not a game. So first off, it's so interesting to me that people talk like that to people they don't know. They make an assumption that they know everything you've experienced or haven't. So just for the record, I've had my share of trauma, as we all have had, as humans living in this messed up world. And I've coached and counseled many people who've experienced unspeakable things. And while compassion is important here, to leave them feeling like a victim all their lives, or to leave myself feeling like a victim, is a huge disservice. It just reinforces the pain and keeps a person stuck. One of the hardest things I've ever done, but the most beneficial, was to let go of feeling like a victim when I was solely blaming external circumstances for what was going on in my life. It was the most freeing and powerful thing I've ever experienced. So while it's true at one level that these challenges and suffering are very real, it feels real, and it's not just a game, but to stay there and not be willing to look at it from any other perspective is so very disempowering. To be able to look at it from this higher 30,000-foot view can help you see your life as a mythic journey with intense challenges to help you grow, rather than feeling like life beat you down and you can never recover. Some of the most beneficial people in society are those who faced intense hardship, healed from it, and now help others do the same. If you've never gone through those challenges, you're not as able to help others because you don't really understand what they've gone through. You haven't crossed to the other side yourself. So the most resilient, strong, wise people I've studied and worked with are those that can look at challenges from many perspectives. And as I said, not get stuck in black and white thinking. The clients I work with who could do that went on to heal and grow and help others in unbelievably helpful ways. So the good news is that from what I've seen, people are waking up from the virtual reality game called life, seeing what has been true and false in their own lives and in the happenings of the world. But it's been a circuitous journey through a maze to find it. And sometimes when you think you found it, I found the way, you realize you were wrong and it's now time to go another way. See it in another way. And a lot of the ahas come in non-linear, non-logical ways. If you look at movies, games, novels, stories, it's often the deeper symbolism, the analogies, the non-linear aspects that stir the soul. And it's not just in these fictional formats, it's in our everyday lives, both personally and globally. The numbers, the symbols, the archetypal characters, the plot lines, the themes of our lives, therein lies the clues. In the end, it's about your learning, activation, and growth, rising above the duality, seeing things from fresh eyes, and you are building the muscle of wisdom that you must need to rise to the next level. So a great question to ask yourself, how can I better build the muscle of wisdom needed to rise to the next level? So don't ask from the ego perspective, what's the right path? Because it will likely send you on the wrong path, seeking shallow ends like approval, control, safety, convenience, but instead from the perspective of what the soul needs to grow, which is usually about letting all that go and doing what's right in your heart. That's what seems to be a path of freedom and to waking up from the game and achieving what your soul came here to do in the first place. This podcast episode, by the way, is based on chapter 15, the last chapter of my book, MindStory Inner Coach. If you'd like more tools like this, go to MindStoryAcademy.com or find the book on Amazon. You'll also see the link to that in the show notes. Along with the book, you also get 2 short guided audios that are called Neuro-Blueprints. They are a form of mental rehearsal that open up communication between your conscious and subconscious mind to deepen this relationship with life. One is called How to End Self-Sabotage. The other is called Your Hero's Journey, which is about reframing the challenges of your life in terms of a mythic adventure and how those challenges have forged you in the fire of wisdom to now help others. Sometimes that's hard to see until you do a process like this. We also offer personal coaching for people who want the ongoing accountability and customization of this kind of material, so you see results much quicker. And you can see that on the coaching tab at MindStoryAcademy.com. And if you're looking for these principles explored in a page-turning fantasy novel, check out the award-winning book Heliotropus at GoldenAgeTimeline.com. So that's it for today. Until we talk again, just remember each morning when you wake up that life wants you to win. And move into your day with that in your heart. And you may find a whole different kind of day unfolds before you. Until next time, thanks for listening.